Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth that there's no such thing as coincidences or mistakes. We are here to share our life experience on that with you. My name is Deb Miller.
Hello, Queens. I'm Susan Doyle. Nice to see you
Hello.
girls.
Hey guys, I'm Kristen Dean.
Yes, nice to see everybody. I
Okay, today is one of those days that we needed a sound person.
no
I'm fit.
kidding. Oh my
I was
God.
gonna sing our intro for us
Oh
because Sue couldn't get
gosh,
the music to
I
go off her
just,
screen.
That
it's
was
been a
tough.
day.
We've never
Yeah,
in our 73 or 4 episodes had to stop the recording and start over. Yeah, that was
I couldn't
special.
find my screen. Yeah, that
For
was a
me.
special, it's a special day. Mark it.
It's a
It's a
special
special
Market.
day today. I'm feeling a little off today. It's 40 something degrees. Summer was here for a brief moment in time, and now I feel like I was back walking the dog today in sweatshirt, full up leggings. By the way, I call them tights. A parka. I needed gloves and I needed a scarf. I just didn't have them on the ready any longer. And so I'm feeling a little off today and kind of bitter about it, to be honest with you.
I gotta
Nippy.
tell you, I honestly don't blame you. So Kevin and I went to Nantucket this past weekend and spread some of his dad's ashes, and we flew into Connecticut on Thursday evening, and it was gray and cloudy. And then on Friday, same, the whole weekend away was like misty and gray, and sometimes it poured rain and other times. And then I left on Monday morning and it was still like that. And I
And like
thought
not to mention freezing. It's
it
freezing
was
here.
freezing. It was so cold. And I thought I always like a change of temperature, but it's the gray. It's the gray and the lack of sunshine that just put me under. I was like, I could just feel the shift. So I definitely, and listen, it's almost May. Like, come on already.
Right. Like being
What?
right. Being here in
April is
April.
always a shitty month. Like it always
March is always the
rains.
shitty
It's
month. April, you expect
real
by the April,
tricky.
it is, we are recording this on April 22nd.
That's
And
true.
I am
Yeah.
sitting here in socks, shoes, a long sleeve
Yeah.
sweatshirt, long sleeve t-shirt, and long sleeve pants. Not right.
No, it's not. And so
Uh,
we're pissed about the weather. I'm not even there and
Yeah,
I'm pissed about it.
I would like some sun, but I prefer the cooler
Same.
cool is fine. Cold
months.
is not.
Yeah, it's
Cool at
definitely
night,
nippy.
so I don't have to use the air conditioning would be
Yeah.
lovely, but
Mm.
Yeah.
um yeah.
So
So
I just have to share this little funny thing with the audience. So every Wednesday, Sue sends an email to both Deb and myself with
Hmm.
tomorrow's podcast coming out, right?
Hmm.
Now I watch it because I know you two gals don't. I
Hmm.
like to see what's on tap. And, I made a comment when Sue sent the email that, holy crap, I can't believe this one's out already. Like it was so quick. So I watched it during my lunch break. I was in the office and I had my little pods on and I was watching it. And it was the episode on, I can say this because this one will come out after,
Hmm.
on true love. We talked about true love, whether there's true love and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we talked about having this meh feeling about meh, like some guys just meh, whatever. So I was thinking about this one time. I just remember this story. I was stone cold sober. I've been sober a few years. I was young. I was like 27 years old. And I remember this guy, I dated this guy. He liked me. He annoyed the piss out of me. I didn't like him, but he looked like this guy I dated in my early 20s that I had a tremendous, like a very short-lived uh kind of whatever you want to call it relationship. And the spark was there with him. But this guy that I didn't really care for, he was like, he looked like him. So I was like, he's good enough. Like, and I thought to myself when like, that's how I behaved. Like, it's better than nothing. He reminds me of this guy that I had like this great time with. So he'll do for now. That's so I was laughing when I was watching that podcast where we were saying, he'll do for now.
He'll do.
Was
He'll do for
I
now.
do have
hysterical.
to say I never watch, but I went to go visit my son in New York City this weekend, and it's a substantial drive, so I listened to a few episodes
Ah,
in
and
their
what did you
entirety for the
think?
first time. I do have to say that we sound pretty good.
We're funny.
I'm gonna give us a solid B plus A minus. I mean, we're
Oh,
pretty good.
okay.
I
Do you
like it.
listen to other podcasts? Like,
I do. I
oh, you
do.
still we're still in that
I
category?
don't
Okay.
actually listen to a lot. My tried and true is Smartless. Love
Yeah.
that. They're so funny and they have such like you can just tell that they're really good friends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Um,
I stopped listening to Smartless because I think I shared this with Kristen.
Mm,
I will listen to their opening banter, the
yeah.
first how
hmm
10 or 15 minutes, which I love.
which is the best part of it.
The best part, right. And then they always seem to have on these famous people. And the famous people always talked about the same thing, how they got started. And oh, it was just like this coincidence that I was, everybody just seemed, all the guests that they have on seem to have the same story to tell. And I don't know if that's something that they do in Hollywood because they can't really, they've got non-disclosures to talk, they don't want to really
Mm.
talk about how things actually really did happen. But it's like they're all kind of living a great life and oh, they started out with nothing and then they talk about their different projects that they did and who and it just I'm just
hmm
not interested in that anymore.
Yeah.
I really love the hey, this is what happened to me and it's traumatic and it's
hmm
ugly, but it's what happened to me and it's important that I share that. And that's what I want to hear. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear, from these famous people that
The
I don't know.
banter back and forth, you said it. Like I kind of feel that way about Howard Stern now. Even though he's a tremendous interviewer, he
Hmm.
had Nathan Lane on, I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
And I love Nathan Lane, but I
Yeah,
was like,
he's awesome.
I want to listen to Richard and Sal and you know, their phony phone calls or
Yeah.
Howard pontificating on stuff. I prefer that to the I don't care. Yeah. It's not that I
Yeah,
don't care. It's just I've heard it enough, like you said. Once
yeah,
is enough.
but I do like the banter between them. That's the really funny part.
I
Maybe
do
they
have to
should
say
have
that I
us
just
on.
lied. I misspoke. I do listen to Oprah's podcast because she's got some pretty interesting authors on there and pretty interesting
Yes,
people. Like one of them was the woman wrote a book. Her husband, like after so
cheated on
many,
her.
like cheated
Yeah,
on her or
I
um
love that too.
so I do listen to that.
Well, I'll be letting you know when I'm on Oprah because things are happening with my book.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
Uh,
tell.
so go ahead, tell us.
so
And what
well,
character am I playing?
well,
Yourself.
it's
I can't play my 13-year-old self or 14-year-old self, and I don't think her book goes back that far.
no, no. You weren't part of my drug years, so you didn't make it in the book. But the next book, perhaps. No, but I've hired somebody to do PR work for me. Yeah, I know.
Queen.
I know.
What
I
is it?
know.
Samantha from Sex and the City?
Yes, Samantha's doing my
Kim
PR.
Cattrall.
So,
Wow.
Okay, well,
anyways,
we
What?
both have Sarah Jessica Parker hair, so we're in there too.
yeah, for sure, Z. Anyways, yeah, I just I was told through my higher power that it's time.
Okay.
So I started the wheels in motion and more to come. But for right now, yeah, you'll probably be seeing a little bit more of some marketing going on. So
Well, there must be something in the air because when I was in New York having uh brunchish, lunchish with my son, which by the way, we went to this restaurant that was like phenomenal. That's
Are
the
you
other
gonna
thing. It's
are you
like
gonna
you
plug
can't
the
get
restaurant?
food. You cannot get food like that around here. You just can't. Yeah, we went to this Jewish deli called Russ's Daughter,
Oh,
and we had just a smorgasbord of we like drown ourselves in carbs. It was great.
but wait, is Russ a Jewish name? I didn't think Russell was a Jewish name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not typically, but it
It
can
would be
be.
like
Russ had some good
Morton's
Jewish soul
daughter.
food on his
Some kugel? Did you have some kugel?
no, they didn't have that. They did have he and his girlfriend got some matzo ball soup. I
Mm.
had well, I indulged in chocolate babka French toast,
I could go for that.
Olive
cinnamon
oil.
babka French toast,
Oh
Love
my
that.
God.
and this like open face lox sort of take on a Reuben, which was beyond
How'd you eat
beyond.
all that? You
I
did
know
not eat
that's a
all. Did
lot.
you have like a
I
bite of
didn't.
each?
I mean, like I had a piece here, a piece there, and then I had a taste and
Oh,
you
okay.
know, but I could have like literally tasted one of everything on the menu and been brought back to my
Mm.
childhood like crazy. So yeah. Um, anyway, on my way in to the listening to our podcast on my way into the city, I listened to the amends one,
Mm.
which was great, and
Mhm.
where Deb, made amends for some like I don't know, were you snarky at the beginning of one of the podcasts or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that? Anyway, long story short,
I was off my meds. What do you
amends.
want?
He really wasn't snarky at
Oh
all.
yeah, it was yes, she was really snippy because Walgreens was calling her
Oh,
for
that
her
one. Okay.
estrogen
Yeah.
patch
Hurry
being
up.
ready, and she's like, "Hurry the fuck up! I gotta get to Walgreens."
Yeah, you're right.
And
I was
yeah,
off my
and then so
meds.
she apologized. She made her amends to us real time. But I have a question for you guys. I know that amends takes on different meanings for everybody, but basically it's a step in AA
Hmm.
but it's also a good practice for everybody to do to keep their side of the street clean that if you acted inappropriately or you know, we
Hmm.
got to kind of clean it up.
Hmm.
But I also know that amends oftentimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, in AA is a counterpart to resentments that you carry. And that part of the program or part of the work is addressing those resentments so they don't come back in the form of drinking to numb those types of things that are
Mhm.
going on in your mind. Is that kind of how I got it? Kind of how it
Yeah,
is?
exactly. Like, um, so the only people left on my amends list, because what you do is you take how you get part of your amends list is you refer back to your lists of resentments, harms done.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one, Deb? Fears. You look at all those
Fears?
lists.
Fears.
Fears, yeah.
Okay.
Which not necessarily, those are more your own fears that you have to work through and on. But we've talked about this before. 9 times out of 10, when you resent somebody or something, it's something within us. It's within me. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
resent, whatever. My point being that the resentments list carries over to the amends list. And those people that are safe to make amends to, you do. But there are people on there that I just, you know, me personally, um, I'd have to run into
So
them or it's just not safe, you know.
yeah, so it's Okay, so I have been feeling lately, I've been going through something in my personal life, and I have been feeling lately, and I don't even know if I'm using the term properly, resentment. I mean, I am feeling a little resentful towards myself for having kind of navigated through the last several years without putting up boundaries for certain people. And then I started thinking, well, like, so I was resentful towards these other people. But then when I worked through it, like in therapy and with you girls, I realized that resentment was kind of towards myself.
Hmm.
And where I was pointing outward, I should have been pointing inward because or pointing back at myself simply because if I had held true to the boundaries that I should have or wanted to put up, but didn't based on all the characters involved, I wouldn't be resentful as to where I am now.
I feel that that is a little unrealistic because boundaries are often broken, even if you put them in place and they're very strong or they're very high, and they are often broken. So even if and therefore for me the resentment comes in if I feel that I'm wanting like an outcome to be different than it was.
So attaching an expectation.
Yes, exactly. And I think, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, like nothing is going to crush you faster than having an expectation of other people, places, or things.
Yep.
And
Resentment's waiting to happen. That's what they say.
yes, an
That's
expectation is
interesting. So say
resentment,
that again. An
yeah,
expectation is a resentment waiting to
waiting to
happen.
happen.
Waiting to happen. Yep. One of my
So
favorite sayings.
when we stop
Wow.
putting expectations on people, places, and things, we no longer care so much about how the what the outcome is. And when we don't when we want things to be controlled a certain way and they don't happen that way, that is when a resentment is built. And our part in that, where we have to make amends, is trying to control that other person,
Mm.
place, or thing.
I will say too, though, that like what Sue was alluding to, and I, maybe I'm misconstruing this, but I know I spent a little bit of time being resentful at myself for a choice I made. And the choice was around a boundary. The choice
Okay.
was around a decision that ultimately it was my responsibility to make to care for myself that I didn't do. And it took me longer to forgive myself for that than it did for me to get rid of the resentment towards that other person that I
And do
had
you
not.
ever really get rid of it? Like, so here's the thing that I wrestle with, okay, is this. You let go of the resentment. You're not living in the past, right? I mean, we all know that those things are, the past is already gone. Living in resentment is toxic to the person who is resentful, correct? But you also look to the past as a like you should allow yourself to reflect back so you don't repeat history, correct?
Mhm.
So it's like, do you truly let it go? Do you truly let that resentment go? Or do you sort of say, okay, I forgive myself, I forgive the other person, but I'm not going to forget. And so, like, by not forgetting, have you not really let that resentment go?
I'm going to use the example of Kristen and me, if you don't mind, dear Kristen.
I don't mind.
Thank God she didn't pick me.
No, because I
Just
think
kidding.
this
I'm
is
just
going to
kidding.
be
Good.
um So I had an expectation of Kristen when she was my sponsor and my best friend. And when she relapsed and no longer was my sponsor or my best friend, I was very resentful. I was so like I had an expectation of her that she would always be who she showed up to be those first several years of our relationship together. But life situations come in and they manipulate and maneuver our situations to be different than they were. People grow, they learn, they change, whatever it may be. Okay. I did not forgive Kristen. I did not forget what happened. I was very resentful for many years until she came back into my life and said, I am making a change. I don't like who I am when I'm drinking. I don't like what my life has become. I'm going to get my shit back together. And I still was very much like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it
Mhm.
kind of thing. And she's like, and the boyfriend and I are over. And I was like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. And she did it. And she showed up every single day for years doing what she had said she was going to do. I am no longer resentful. I'm no longer angry. Not only have I forgiven her, I'm grateful she's back in my life.
Mm.
And I don't even think about it anymore.
Mm.
It is so much in the past. So if somebody, if you have a resentment towards somebody because of their behavior and they change that behavior and they work in a living amends every single day, doing what they have promised that they're going to do, and eventually you forget, you stop
Yeah.
thinking about oh yeah, but what if? And I remember when those thoughts just dissipate
You
and
could
it's a
pick it
chapter
up.
that has been closed. What?
You could pick it up. First of all, thank you so much, Deb. I feel like you are one of the greatest gifts that I have gotten this, back in my life this time around. Um, so it's just living proof that if you do the right thing,
Yeah,
next right thing, a living amends, it truly works.
it does work. And
But
you do forget and
you
forgive
do,
and
and
forget.
and one of the greatest lessons I ever learned from you, Deb, and so this is something that will probably pertain to what you're talking about. You can pick up that resentment.
Mhm.
Guilty, and you can play around with it. Like Deb could go, remember that time in her brain, she'd go, I called Kristen, and I'm using an example, and all she wanted to do was have, her son was just diagnosed with cancer. All she wanted to do was have coffee with me. And I was too busy going to the movies with my then boyfriend. That is something she could pick up again and go, fuck her. I can't believe she did that to me. But she can think of that now, but she's indifferent to it. And so Deb taught me when my ex-husband years ago, you'll remember this, Deb, started dating his girlfriend who was, he's been with ever since. And all of a sudden, all the rules changed in my life with my ex-husband. I could no longer pick up my children at his house and blah, 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 blah. And I was a wreck. I was a mess with all of these. I had lost my one, I guess, true love, you could say. Like he was moving on. And Deb said to me, I mean, it took a good 6 months to a year. But you said to me, Deb, one day you're going to look at what Ken is doing and you're going to just be indifferent. The word indifferent. So,
Mhm.
Sue, like you're
It's
going
the
to look
opposite
at
of love. The opposite of love
exactly
is indifference.
indifference. And that doesn't mean, I care about what happens to my ex-husband, but I'm indifferent to the decisions he makes with his girlfriend. I mean, they don't affect me anymore, but you know what I mean? Like you
Hmm.
become indifferent. It doesn't really matter what that person does anymore. You're
So is
not.
that a decision just not to jump into the arena any longer? So you're not exposed to, so like what happens? So Deb, let me ask you something hypothetically.
Mhm.
If Kristen did that to you 3 or 4 more times,
Mhm.
do you get to the point where, that you're no longer resentful towards her, but you choose not to be in a space that she could potentially do that again? You just sort of say, okay, like the boundary is I will no longer be allowing myself into the arena to give you the platform for the possibility for it to happen again.
Yes, the only way
And
that
is that holding on to a resentment?
no, so there's sometimes you have to walk away from a situation and disconnect from it so that you don't keep on getting pulled down. And when you're healthy enough and when you are in a position where you're like, I love this person and I want them in my life, but I love myself more. I can't do this anymore. And then you walk away and you distance yourself from them. That's when the healing of the resentment starts. When you are no longer, like you said, in that you're not stepping up for the fights anymore. You're not in that field anymore. You have
Hmm.
stepped out of there because there's a
But is
difference.
that, but are you still holding on to an expectation that that person, place, or thing should have behaved, done different, better? Are you just saying, okay, you never met my expectation of this, so now I'm just walking away.
All I can relate to that is my marriage
Mm.
and the pain. I stayed in a relationship far too long and it did far too much damage to me. But I was scared. I didn't feel like I had a place to go. Um, I decided to stay and I paid the price for it. I paid the price big time for it. And years and years and years later, to this day, some of the shit that went down in my marriage resurfaces. But my resentment towards my husband, who could not refuse to, couldn't, whatever that is, be the man, a loving, caring husband that I wanted, needed, and deserved, it was clear to me that that was never going to be. The words were there, sometimes the actions were there, but they always slid back into that behavior. So finally, I became very addicted to pain meds to get my courage up to do it, but I did it. I left them. And it wasn't until I walked out that door and started my own life. Now, granted, I was in the throes of an addiction with a small child on tow, without a job, in a mess of a situation. But I finally was able to start to gather my own senses back and to start to be away from that abuse. It is abuse. And until I was away from that and able to start to love myself again, that's when I let go of the resentment. And years and years later, because it's like it wasn't affecting me anymore. It was done. I was over it. I was out. It was not
Not
affecting me.
having expectations is really hard,
When you've
isn't
been,
it? I
yes,
mean,
but we're sold a song and a dance,
okay.
and when people show up in relationships, you are showing a part of you that is actually not truly who you are. It is a chemical reaction to another person that you're having for the first 8 to 12 months of your relationship. That's why they call it the honeymoon phase. You feel great, your dopamine levels are up, it's lovely and it's fun, it's this and that. And then when the chemistry, the chemicals in your brain start to quiet down because you've been with this person for over a certain amount of months, that's when the reality sets in. And a lot of times we commit ourselves to this other person in those 8 to 12 months of a relationship, and we don't know who they really are, and they don't know who we are, and we don't know how we're going to react to each other in real time when our chemicals, when we're not having that chemical interaction, our dopamine's high and our serotonin is high around this person. And that's when the reality sets in. And
Interesting.
the real work has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, it just can't be done. And my marriage had a lot more variables that came into it, mental health issues, substance use, all sorts of things. I could not stay in that any longer. And you know, I thank God every day that, I mean, I needed the courage of the drugs to get out of it, but I did it. Regardless of how it happened, I got out. And my life, forgiveness has been granted, and all of the things that I held on to and hurt are gone. And my ex-husband is gone. He's passed away, and God rest in peace. He's finally at peace. That man was not in peace for a very long time, and now he is. And I hate that Hunter doesn't have a father, but he was not in his right frame of mind. So he's finally at peace. I forgave him a long time ago, but sometimes you have to walk away from the situation that is making you so resentful and full of anger. You cannot start to heal until you're out of the situation.
Have
Do you
either
think
one of you experienced resentments in the workplace?
Oh my God, yeah.
we're having a
Okay, so what do you do with that? Like, you need your job, right? I mean, most of us, it's like you're not going to leave. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't know.
think
I mean,
resentments in the workplace are it's annoyance because you want a certain you have an expectation of people around you to do certain things, and sometimes they don't. Um, the way I handled that, now I haven't been in the workplace. I've been on my own now for many years, but I just was constantly saying the serenity prayer
Mhm.
and just staying super focused on what I needed to do, and just kind of letting everybody else do their thing. I would just try really hard to mind my own business. I mean, it's aggravating as hell, but when you're working with other people and other people are in your life, everybody's got their own personalities. I get resentments at AA meetings when somebody's speaking too long.
Oh, it's the worst.
I'm like,
Oh,
you have three
shut up.
minutes to
Yeah.
share on the topic. You're going on at least 10 minutes. And then I get resentments and I'm like, it's
Yeah.
bad. It's not, listen, it's never
so do you
easy.
think that comes from an expectation of the people following the
Following the
rules?
rules.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
people are fallible. If we can go into life expecting the only expectation we have is no expectations, and people are human, then we're safe. But you know, I think like I heard this great saying at a meeting on Friday. I have leaves in the pool problems. Like, I think of this, right? So I've had resentments at jobs over the years because I was always I have a different work ethic than others. And let's face it, we all do, right? We all are different humans. Some people do the bare minimum. Some people do just what, hey, it's just a job I'm getting paid for. I always went above and beyond. So therefore, I was bound to have a resentment when I was holding the whole group of people up to my standards.
Yes.
And I talked about this last week. I can still play around with getting pissed off, even at my current job. It's the job I used to have. And I'm talking about the guy who's taken my position. And I'm like, they need to do this and they need to do that. No, it's none of my business. It's like I'm having expectations on how something should go I'm not God, I'm not even the CEO of Hartford Steam Boiler. So oops, whatever.
Beep. We'll beep that out.
I'd love to say I delete that out, but I don't know how.
Oopsie daisy.
I
That's
think what it truly comes down to is we all have resentments. We all get angry. We all get mad at other people. It's human nature, but it's what you do with that resentment. If you hold on to it, it is only hurting you. I can promise you that. The person that you have a
It's
resentment
it's
to does not give a shit.
it's like the saying,
You drink the poison
giving
and
your enemy drinking the poison, expecting your enemy to die,
that's
or
right.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
another great saying. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's funny, Kristen, because I have that same work ethic where I go above and beyond, and my experience more often than not is I get more work
Oh yeah,
piled on, and the
100%.
people who have a low level of work ethic just sort of like float by. So it's funny because I then turn to myself and I'm pissed and I'm resentful for myself that I, came strong out of the gate, and now I set that expectation, and people expect me to always be that, where these other people just set a lower expectation, and that's what they're getting, and you become resentful. But in actuality, I always, I turn it back on myself saying it's like I shouldn't have done that, but it's not, but that's exactly who I am. So I don't know how to do anything different.
And
Right.
you shouldn't have, I feel like that I heard this saying, I don't know where, but it's a management problem. Managers are aware that there are different types of employees. And I feel like I told one of my managers this once, there's this guy over here who doesn't do anything. He does nothing. And I get all the work because he sets a boundary and I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I'm a yes man,
Mm-hmm.
like, but I do think in especially larger companies, I feel like the management, it's part of a manager's skill. Someone who manages people is to be able to call that out and say, hey, Sue's carrying 85% and Joe Schmo over here is carrying 15. Like we got to even the playing field a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, you know.
I think one of the things that when I feel like unseen or unheard, that's what triggers a resentment in me,
Hmm.
big time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I feel like I don't ask for that much, but what I do ask for, please, like for instance, I have told 4 people that I'm on a podcast today from 3 to 4 p.m. I have been getting nonstop texts and phone calls from those 4 people. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
It's like, don't, please. And now I
Yeah.
have a
Okay,
resentment.
Mhm.
could that go back to an expectation of somebody reading your text or listening to you? And like that to me is just a human common courtesy.
Yeah,
It's not an expectation.
it
Yes.
is, but what happens is they hear something you say, they go, "Oh, okay." But then for whatever reason, they feel an urgency that they now need something and they can't wait, so they now have to meet their need instead of saying, "Oh, I know she's blocked off this time. I gotta wait a couple more minutes before reaching out to her.
Are they
But
asking you questions or just,
I have no idea.
oh, you don't
I
even
can
read it?
see it buzzing and I can hear the bing, bing, bing. And I'm like, I'm not, you gotta listen, you gotta pay attention. I'm sorry. Like, but
Right. So do we as human beings, or maybe it's women, do we have an expectation that the major that the people that are in our inner circle, right? The lowest level is just pay attention, but sometimes it's hard for people.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so do you get off the phone and sort of give them a little tongue lashing, like I told you I was on the phone? Or is it just like,
No, what I will do is if anybody gives me a hard time for not answering in a prompt manner, I will say as I told you earlier, unavailable from 3 to 4. So sorry, but
mhm.
it never
Isn't
usually
your
comes.
calendar, like for me, common courtesy, we have teams, right?
Yeah, but
If
I am
someone
not
is
talking
red,
about work
you're not
stuff.
talking about work. Okay. All right.
I
See,
don't have a
work is
shared
different then.
calendar with anybody. Yeah,
Got it.
work is you can go on a shared calendar and see that you're blocked off, but
That to me is
Okay,
common
so
courtesy. You
so
don't bother
last,
someone
yeah.
when they're in a meeting or when you just
right, of
wait.
course. But
Right.
this is me just saying, if you're looking for me during this time, I'm not going to, I'm not available. And
Mhm.
then the phone's still going off. But, listen, I've been in recovery for a very long time. I still deal with the difference is I will not snap at them. I will not do something and say like, I told you I was not available, because then I'm making an amends to them. What
Amen.
I'm going to do is give them the grace that they deserve and say they forgot, or they had to text me something so that they remembered. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm not going to be snappy or snippy and put myself in a position where I then have to make an amends. I'm going to let it go.
So resentments and boundaries to you two are two totally separate things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I mean, I don't know, Deb, like to me, a boundary is saying, I please don't bother me in between 3 and 4 o'clock. If you wouldn't mind, please don't call me in between 3 and 4 o'clock. Um, I'm on a call.
Yeah.
I'll call you after, right? The person calls you, like Deb says, people cross boundaries all the time. The person calls you, I got a resentment. This mother effer, I told him not to call me, and he called me anyway. Like, right? I mean, I don't know. They're different. Like a boundary is something that's out, we're responsible for. A resentment is
So when you lay
an
down a
ex.
boundary with people in your personal life and or professional life or whatever you want, and that boundary is not adhered to, or um, that boundary is not prioritized, or that boundary isn't thought of as being important to the other person, people,
Mhm.
have you by putting that boundary down, was that you having an expectation of somebody?
No, when you set a boundary for somebody, it's a guideline. It's a
Right, but don't you expect them to sort of,
yes, and when they
to
don't, yeah, when you have said specifically, I'll use an example. I don't want to be around drunk people. I don't want to be around you when you're drunk. Have a couple cocktails, I don't care. But once you start getting drunk, I do not want you to be in my space. Okay? That's a boundary I set up. If that person continuously just seeks me out when they're drunk just to annoy me, that's a boundary that is being crossed. And it is my responsibility to set that boundary even higher. I will lock you out
Mhm.
if you come in drunk. I'm not answering your calls when you're drunk. I am whatever, whatever.
So there's no expectation that anybody, there's no expectation for those people or persons to respect that boundary.
They will respect it
It's
if
up to
they,
you to set it and not have resentments if people don't.
Follow it,
the expect,
prioritize
Yeah.
it.
so if a boundary is being crossed, then the consequences keep getting higher and higher. And
You
the
could block
ultimate
people.
consequence is I'm out. Whether you're my friend, whether you're my family member, whether you're I'm in a relationship with you. If they are crossed over and over and over again, that is a clear message to me that they do not give a shit. And I'm
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
And so that's not necessarily you having so by setting the boundary, is it okay to have an expectation that the people that you set it with respect it? And when they don't, you know what I mean? So like it is an expectation. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do either one of you think that an expectation is ever warranted? Is an expectation ever an okay thing? Because my feeling is you lay down a boundary, you spell it out. There is an expectation because you're setting a boundary for people who are in your life. Like you don't set a boundary with, the stranger down the street or, you know, whatever, right? So these people are in your life. And so to me, there is, when you're laying it down and you've taken the time to think it out and verbalize it and all those things, there is an expectation that this person or people respect it.
Hmm.
Are you setting yourself up for a resentment because there is an expectation attached to the boundary being laid, outlined?
I think if they like continually knock it down, like Deb was talking about, if you're going to be around me, I've asked you not, I don't want to be around you when you're drunk. The person continually, it, you've set a boundary a million times. I think it's okay to have an expectation, that I expect that my son's going to come home from work in 2 hours and he's going to say, "Hey, Ma, how was your day?" He's not
Hmm.
just going to go run in the basement, and if he does, I'm not going to have a resentment. But you know what I mean? Like it's okay to have certain expectations. But
Okay.
But you
I
also have to be very flexible that, if your expectation is too high for that person,
Right.
that's when that's when you have to be like, okay, I am dealing with somebody who does not have the capability to not cross that boundary.
yeah,
And that's where your expectation, once you let go of those expectations, you're free, and because sometimes
Okay.
people just don't what our expectations of ourself, of our children, of the people that we surround ourselves with are different than what their expectations are.
Agreed. Agreed.
And so once we realize that and like, okay, I have an expectation of you, Sue, that you're, not going to that that you're not going to ghost me or whatever.
Hmm.
And but there might be a time when you're like, I need a break from Deb. She's fucking driving me nuts. And like, I'm not answering the phone and I just need to like take a step away. Well, I put an expectation on you that you are not able to handle because it's not realistic.
Okay.
There's realistic expectations and there's unrealistic expectations.
Okay. I get
and I
that.
one of the important lessons I learned from my good old friend Steve Richardson, who's God rest his soul. He used to say to me, "It's important, Kristen, that you have boundaries of brick, not boundaries of hay."
Yeah.
I have a tendency to be wishy-washy. I can
Hmm.
go,
Interesting. Yes.
no, and then come here. Like that
Yeah,
bullshit does
that's
not
great.
fly.
Yeah,
It doesn't work.
I
I
love
love
that.
that.
Have
Yeah.
boundaries
I
of
love
brick and
that.
not hay. Yeah.
Yes. Isn't that
Hmm.
awesome? Like it's important. Yep, this is a boundary.
Yeah.
But except
Yeah,
for
it's
this time.
interesting
But you also have to
because,
remember that when you set a boundary, you have to be ready to walk away if that boundary is being crossed.
Yep.
And that's the hardest thing for me anyways, because it's like
yeah, like don't use a boundary as a threat. And then when it
exactly.
doesn't work out, you torch it. Like brick can't be torched, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, um, any closing comments, girls, about resentments? I think this was kind of good.
Yeah, I
It's
just
We
great.
didn't really get into what ChatGPT said. We did look that up and it's pretty
no,
interesting.
yeah, I just there's one thing to have a resentment, and it's a whole other thing to know how to let go of a resentment
Hmm.
and that whole process, which maybe we can talk about another time. But all I'm going to say is having a resentment towards something, people, places, and thing. I have resentments towards places,
Mm.
um, but it only hurts you. It
Mm,
only hurts you. So the quicker you can learn to let go of that, to dissipate it, to work through it, the freer and happier you're going to be because it is not hurting that person or that place that you have the
hmm.
resentment towards. It is not. They do not care. They're not thinking anything of you or it or whatever. It's you're the one who is really punishing yourself. And it's very painful.
Yeah.
So learn to process that and let it go.
I think really too, like a huge step in, I can only speak for myself, my growth is recognizing that I have a resentment and not just let it fester in me physically as anger and not really know, you know what I mean? You know,
Yeah, identify it.
yeah, just knowing that, okay, like this is a resentment and wonder, where is it coming from?
Hmm
More of that I think is a huge is a lot of growth for me and probably other people. What about you, Kristen?
I couldn't have said anything better than you two. I've
Well,
used
you
up my
had the
words.
quote of the podcast,
Yeah,
um, which was
build your boundaries.
Expectations are or the
No, it's
hay and
build
the
your boundary and with brick,
no
not hay.
expectation is a
resentment
resentment
Ah,
waiting to
waiting to
happen.
happen.
okay. Well, there's
Don't
two
expect.
whammies in
There
there.
was two one. There was
Yeah,
two, and don't build your boundaries out of brick, not
brick.
hay.
That's right. I like that.
Yep, both learned. No, both are not originals. I cannot take credit for those. I just heard them and I live by it. Try to live by it.
Well,
Mm,
So
when
good
I
girl.
get off this podcast, I'm on my way to the lumber yard to get some bricks.
you go, girl.
Build them thick and high.
Bring your
Build
tool
those.
belt.
Oh, stop. All right, girls. Let's see. The listener, you can find us on iHeartRadio, which is the big one, the biggie one, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube if you want to see us. And you can also email us or private message any one of us on social media. We'd love to hear from you, feedback, topic, what you thought about what we talked about and things like that. I'm twirling my hair.
I do the
Our
same thing.
our email address is rewind and reflect with us at gmail.com. Everything's spelled out.
Namaste, everybody.
Until
Till
Godspeed.
next
later.
time.
Until next time, ladies.
Love
Goodbye.
you.
Bye.
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 Love you.